Honourable colleagues, I rise today to address Senator Klyne's important inquiry into the invaluable contributions of Indigenous businesses to Canada's economy. Within this chamber, we have explored the economic successes and challenges faced by Indigenous people and communities across Turtle Island. I'd like to use this opportunity to shine a spotlight on a few Mi'kmaq entrepreneurs and businesses who are making important contributions across Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, which includes present-day Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Labrador, and Gaspé region in Quebec. In order to understand where the Mi'kmaq are today, we need to look at where we have come from. For thousands of years, the Mi'kmaq thrived along the eastern coast of Turtle Island, cultivating a profound connection to the land and all of our relations. In specific, the bounty of the waters has been central to our way of life. Through customs and traditions passed down through generations, we have managed these resources sustainably since time immemorial. However, after centuries of colonization, dispossession, and marginalization, our ability to control our own traditional territories and resources has been eroded. Despite these challenges, the Mi'kmaq have continued to assert our sovereignty, including in the fisheries, which are central to the economic development and prosperity of our communities. As explained in the recent report of the Standing Senate Committee on Fisheries and Oceans, titled Peace on the Water, in Canada there are distinct categories of fisheries. There are privilege-based fisheries, which are utilized for both commercial and recreational purposes, and the rights-based fisheries, which are based on Aboriginal and treaty rights. The right to fish for food, social, and ceremonial purposes, and the right to fish in pursuit of a moderate livelihood are examples of rights-based fisheries. I want to now focus on the rights-based fisheries. In 1999, in what is now known as the Marshall decision, the Supreme Court of Canada reversed the conviction of Donald Marshall Jr. for catching and intending to sell eels when the season was closed, and recognized and affirmed that the Mi'kmaq, along with the Wolastoqey and Passamaquoddy, have a right to hunt, fish, gather to earn a moderate livelihood arising from the peace and friendship treaties of 1761, signed by our ancestors with the Crown. Almost 25 years later, Canada remains resistant to this ruling and has not moved forward with the full implementation of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqey, and Passamaquoddy rights-based fisheries. Instead, consecutive federal governments have made the exercise of these rights contingent on their ability to buy back commercial licenses to provide access. As a result, First Nations who attempt to exercise rights protected under Section 35 of the Constitution Act risk seizures, arrests, and charges at the hands of federal fisheries officers. The criminalization of our subsistence activities has not only contributed to poverty in our communities, but also fueled the intimidation, harassment, and even violence that our members face on and off the water. Nevertheless, the Mi'kmaq continue to assert our right to fish on our traditional territories, but also call on Canada to honour the promises made in the treaties. I hope that within my lifetime, Canada will move forward with the full implementation of the rights-based fisheries and empower the Mi'kmaq to achieve a greater self-determination and improve our socio-economic outcomes. In contrast to the situation of the rights-based fisheries, the Mi'kmaq, like other people in Canada, also participate in the privilege-based commercial fisheries and have made significant strides in recent years. A notable example is Clearwater Seafoods, which was acquired in 2021 by a partnership between Premium Brands and the Mi'kmaq Coalition, comprised of Member 2, Maui-Waweg, Sebenegati, Wakogama, Bodeladek, Pictou, Landing, and Buckenkeg. A lesser-known but impactful example from New Brunswick is McGraw Seafoods, which was purchased in 2008 by Elsipogtog First Nations and provides employment for the community members and revenue to support a variety of programs and initiatives that benefit the First Nation. McGraw Seafoods employs 200 positions held primarily by Acadians from around Tracadie-Sheila. The company also employs 150 Indigenous fishermen who sell products directly to the plant. In 2022, I visited the multi-species processing plant with Chief Aaron Sock and enjoyed some delicious snow crab harvested from the Gulf of St. Lawrence and processed on site. Clearwater and McGraw Seafoods show that what is possible for Indigenous communities when access to capital and other tools that enable them to fully participate in the economy and build opportunities for current and future generations, as well as to contribute to the prosperity of all in Canada. As a proud Abugwetgoa Mi'kmaq, I next want to draw your attention to Abugwet and Lennox Island First Nations. After years of advocacy led by Abugwetgoa Mi'kmaq, in the recent budget, the federal government announced funding for the creation and operation of Bedumgweg National Park Reserve, located along the northwestern shores of Prince Edward Island. This island chain is home to one of the most ecological significant coastal dune ecosystems in the country. Bedumgweg is also home to multiple archaeological sites considered sacred to the Mi'kmaq, which will now be protected and preserved for generations to come. As Canada's 11th National Park Reserve, once Bedumgweg opens to the public, it will have a significant impact not only for the Mi'kmaq, but for all Prince Edward Island and Canada, including by playing an important role in the environmental stewardship and economic development. I look forward to when Bedumgweg officially opens to the public and will encourage everyone to come visit. All ready to meet growing demand for authentic cultural experiences, Lennox Island First Nation operates a cultural centre, which provides visitors with an opportunity to immerse themselves in the history and traditions of the Mi'kmaq. This includes listening to stories and creating their own decorative birch bark circle or weaving together their own moose hide drum. If you find yourself on PEI, I invite you to make the drive to nearby Lennox Island Cultural Centre. In Abugwet First Nation, the recently opened Abugwet Connects is providing a wealth of development opportunities in the tourism sector and beyond. The 7,000 square foot two-story building supports community events and was the catalyst for the creation of the Abugwet Hospitality, an events and hospitality company which now employs 5 community members who assist with venue rentals and hosting a range of meetings or events and tourism experiences. In addition, various commercial leases support revenue generation and bring new business to the area, including the Indigenous Tourism Association of PEI. Abugwet Connects is also home to Abugwet Developments, Inc. The corporation is a new venture recently established to spearhead economic development opportunities within the private sector, which aims to improve the socio-economic outcomes of the community through greater financial autonomy and independence, and exists separate from band leadership to ensure continuity of economic investments across administrations. Another business that is contributing to local economic development on the island is the Indigenous PEI store. The Indigenous PEI store opened its physical storefront in Charlottetown in July 2023 and is accompanied by an online store where Mi'kmaq artists from Abugwet can display and sell their work. Featured in the storefront is Mi'kmaq artist Melissa Peterpaul, who made this medallion that I am proudly wearing today. She is known for her quillwork pieces, which are created by inserting porcupine quills, either dyed or kept natural, into birch bark. Now considered a rare form of art, Melissa and a few others use quillwork to showcase and preserve a long-standing cultural tradition. Artisans like Melissa play an important role in revitalizing and preserving our culture and traditions and in strengthening individual, family, and community well-being. However, we must empower Indigenous entrepreneurs to start and grow thriving and sustainable businesses by, for example, increasing their access to capital, financial services, and supports. Indigenous women entrepreneurs face additional challenges due to their gender roles within family and community, including cumbersome eligibility requirements for financing. As a result, targeted support is required to close the gap between Indigenous men and women entrepreneurs. In closing, colleagues, the Mi'kmaq continue to enrich the economy of Mi'kma'ki in many ways. In fact, according to the Atlantic Policy Congress study undertaken by the Atlantic Economic Council from 2003, titled The Significant Contributions of Atlantic Indigenous Business and Communities, Abugwet Indigenous communities and businesses contributed $60 million in GDP to the total of Atlantic Canada GDP of $3.6 billion. The Council is currently working on the release of its final report, where more data on the economic contributions of Indigenous peoples in Atlantic Canada will be released. I look forward to sharing that information when it becomes available. Honourable colleagues, let us recognize, celebrate and support the invaluable economic contributions made by Indigenous businesses and communities in Mi'kma'ki and beyond. And in the spirit of reconciliation, let's work together to amplify their voices, uplift their initiatives, and cultivate partnerships built on mutual respect, equity, and prosperity. Well, Alan, merci. Thank you.